So, today we are talking about a hot topic. Cane sugar or high fructose corn syrup, which one is really healthier in your soda? You are watching On the Beat. That's the show where we do usually talk about topics that don't require such a deep dive into the research and where we can talk a little bit more about more practical tips for you. So, with no further ado, auf geht's, let's keep going. All right, our all beloved RFK Jr., or some call him Crazy Kennedy, right? Runs around, touts it as a win that some soda manufacturers will replace high fructose corn syrup in some sodas with cane sugar. We're asking a question, does that really make it healthier? Or should we avoid drinking high sugary drinks altogether, no matter if there's high fructose corn syrup in it or cane sugar? So to answer this question, we are going to recap the problems with the consumption surrounding high fructose corn syrup. We're going to ask the question what high fructose corn syrup actually is. And we talk about the issues with the consumption of cane sugar. And at the end, as always, we're going to ask what does it actually mean for you? And I hope we can give you some better tips for healthy nutrition and weight loss. RFK Crazy Kennedy Jr., right? The man who cuts millions for vaccine and cancer research, who aids a government that cuts food stamps and hunts down farm workers, and a man who promotes the consumption of raw milk, some highly processed foods, and now also high cane sugar sodas, and sells that all as a win for health in America. Can we all now happily drink sodas because there's cane sugar in it and no high fructose corn syrup anymore? Well, we're going to answer that question today. So high fructose corn syrup is made from starch, specifically from cornstarch. And if you don't know what starch is, a lot of glucose molecules chained together. So that cornstarch is then enzymatically digested into fructose. So the glucose that we have in our cornstarch is broken down and then enzymatically digested into fructose. So now, that's why it's called high fructose corn syrup, right? Most high fructose corn syrup is not 100% fructose. That's what most people get wrong. Most high fructose corn syrup products that are used in food processing are somewhere between 45 and 55% fructose. And the rest of that is still glucose. So roughly half. So you have like in a typical high fructose corn syrup product, you have half fructose and half glucose molecules in the solution. So the reason industry is using high fructose corn syrup over sugar is because A, it is cheaper than sugar, and it's also easier to ship than sugar. In its chemical composition, high fructose corn syrup is glucose and fructose. Well, if you know anything about sugars, then there's one sugar that stands out that has pretty similar chemical composition. The only difference is that they are chained together as a disaccharide, and this is sucrose. So, and sucrose is one glucose and one fructose molecule chained together. And where do we find sucrose? You guessed it. In cane sugar. Yes, cane sugar is sucrose, and it can be digested and also broken down into the same molecules as we find in high fructose corn syrup, which are fructose and glucose. The main issue with high fructose corn syrup is how we consume it. Because it's such a flavor enhancer, it adds so much sweetness to products, it's used a lot in foods. So it's therefore very easy to over-consume. And I want to all of you pay attention. Overconsumption is the key here. But that's also true for cane sugar. You can also easily overconsume cane sugar if it's added as sweetener to products. And both high fructose corn syrup and cane sugar can cause a lot of health problems if they're consumed regularly and if they're consumed too much. They can cause blood sugar spikes. We all know that. If you consume too much of them too often, can lead to insulin resistance or even diabetes. And the issue with fructose specifically, which we can find both in high fructose corn syrup and in cane sugar, is that it has to be processed in the liver. And large amounts of fructose that are given to the body over a longer period of time can overwhelm those liver processes, and that can cause severe liver issues, like all the way to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And we made a video about this, and you can check it out. I hope I figure out how to put it into one of those corners. If not, then I link it in the description. So, the other issue is, especially for you on weight loss, added sugars, no matter if it's high fructose corn syrup or cane sugar, can create a lot of empty calories. And that's the main issue for everyone who wants to lose weight, right? Now, are you going to die if you eat once high fructose corn syrup? Absolutely not. We are talking about the regular overconsumption of high fructose corn syrup, right? The question now becomes, how much is actually too much? So, and I want everyone to pay attention to this one. This is important. most nutrition coaches and nutrition experts would probably agree that maybe 5% is a good number, right? So 5% of your caloric intake maximum should be coming from added sugars. So if you eat 2,000 calories per day, that means roughly 100 calories. In other words, roughly 25 grams of sugar. So now that's a lot, right? But most people eat a lot more and they don't even know that. So does it matter if it's cane sugar or high fructose corn syrup? Well, to look at that, we should look at a can of soda. How much added cane sugar do we find in one can of Coke, for example? So now, in one can of Coke, regular Coke, you find 39 grams of sugar, added sugar, to the beverage. That's already too much for you to consume per day. So the question is added cane sugar in soda really healthier than high fructose corn syrup? And the answer is, of course not. Cane sugar dissolves to glucose and fructose in your gut. It causes the same blood sugar spikes. Its overconsumption can also lead to insulin resistance, and overconsumption can also lead to liver problems. So the soda might taste a little different because it's cane sugar and not high fructose corn syrup, but they both have the similar health implications if you overconsume on those. So, which brings me to the last point. What does it actually mean for you? So the first thing I ask people if they want to lose weight is, are you drinking sodas, right? And then I urge them to stop not just drinking sodas, but any sugary drinks that have added sugars. So those added sugars can come in the form of high fructose corn syrup or of cane sugar. The real problem with high fructose corn syrup and with sugar is that they're both easy to overconsume in our modern world with all the food products. And they're added to a whole range of products that you wouldn't even think. It's like when we talked about sodas, of course, sugary sodas, there's added sugars, be it cane sugar or high fructose corn syrup. You find a lot of cane sugar also in fruit juices, you find it in sweet teas, you even find it in energy drinks. But that's not all, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Think about baked goods, like the sweets, the candies, the cookies, the cakes that you can buy. Most of them have added sugars in them. You also find them in breads and things that you wouldn't think. Really look at the ingredients list, especially of the bread that you're buying. There's often added sugars in your bread. Then you can find them in a lot of granolas. Try to buy a granola that doesn't have any added sugars or any added syrups to it. Cereal products have added sugars to it. Breakfast bars have a lot of added sugars. And then a lot of condiments. I completely gave up on condiments. I don't eat any condiments anymore, but a lot of condiments have added sugars on it, be it ketchup, barbecue sauce, salad dressings, tomato sauces, you name it. You really look at the label and see if you find added sugars in those. So all this stuff adds up. You sometimes find them in canned bean products, you find them in canned fruit products, you find them a lot in flavored yogurts, you find them in some protein bars. It doesn't have to be high fructose corn syrup. There are other syrups that are used for sweetening as well. There's cane sugar that is used for sweetening. The point is not whether or not there's high fructose corn syrup in it, or cane sugar. The point is the overconsumption of those sugars, which is very easy to do. So even one can of soda, you overconsume already on added sugars. We are not talking the sugars that you find in fruit. Fruit are extremely healthy, especially if you want to lose weight and if you want to become more healthier. I guess that's why you're listening to this channel. Always a good idea to reduce the intake of added sugars that are in your products. You might have to go through your ingredients list of all your products to see which one has added sugars, which one hasn't, right? Focus on eating whole foods, nutrient-dense, low-caloric foods as your regular diet. Do some exercise, right? Very important. The things we describe in my new book, right? And by the way, and if you want to sign up, please use the Google form in the description of the video. I'm in the last round of editing at the moment, and after that, we will push it out, and we're just trying to find a good price range where we can price it to. That's why we have this Google form. Again, reduce your intake of added sugars, no matter if it's high fructose corn syrup or cane sugar. Focus on whole foods, reduce the empty calories, eat nutrient-dense foods, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for everyone who has so far. You are the best. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by end of the year. Thanks for watching. I see you next time. I'm out.